Are we going to deny Muslim girls an education because some of them want to wear a hijab to the classroom? That is the conflict that has erupted in Karnataka. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Let's begin with our deep dive into this sensitive issue. For the last many days, we have seen clashes outside the closed gates of schools and colleges in Karnataka. In fact, as Muslim girls assert their right to wear a hijab as per their religion, there have been counter protests by groups of students who are now wearing saffron scarves to school and college. This is a mindless communal conflict. What's at heart is the future of our young girls. But the Karnataka Chief Minister is backing the decision to tell young girls that the hijab is no longer allowed in the classroom. Now, is this patently communal and anti-Muslim, or is this about having uniform standards in the classroom, as advocates who support this policy are saying? That is our big focus on the program today. We will have a first-person testimony from a young Muslim girl who says wearing a hijab is her fundamental right in a moment from now. But first, let's get reactions from our panel of experts. Joining us is Ambreen Zaidi. Ambreen is an educationist and author and also a military wife. I mentioned this in the context of the debate around the uniform and whether certain institutions do demand a certain kind of standardization of clothing. Mohandas joins us. He's many things, but today I hope he will speak in his capacity as an educationist, because that's what's really at stake here. Other than being an industrialist, a business leader, he's here today as the chairman of the Manipal Global Education. Thanks, Mohan. Great to have you with us. From Bangalore today, we're joined by Mariyam Saigal. Mariyam is a stand-up comic, a poet, a student, and as you can see, wears her hijab proudly and comfortably, and we'll hear more from her on that. Also joining us is Professor Irfan Habib, author and historian, and also joining us from Kerala today is great to welcome Rahul Easwar, who's an activist and a commentator. All right, let me start with you, Mohan, because I know you and I have had a bit of debate on this issue, and my position is that it doesn't matter what anyone's position is on the hijab, on the ghungat, whether you're pro, anti, whether you're, feminist, it makes you uncomfortable. How can anything be good enough to deny a girl an education? That is what actually concerns me, and everything else is a secondary debate. And that is what is happening here, Mr. Mohandas Pai. So why are you comfortable with the Karnataka government's new policy?
Barkha, let me explain this so that, the context is set. We need to know the data. Till December, the same girls were coming to the same schools and college without a hijab. They've been coming for many years. There's been a rule. Everybody has the uniform. Everybody is following that. Then came something called the Campus Front of India, an affiliate of PFI dedicated to violence in Kerala. We know them very well. They've been very violent. They created the Mangalore riots as per all data. And then they instigated the girl. They started wearing a hijab and coming to school and college. Both the school and college said this against the norms. You cannot wear that. That's not part of the uniform. Please wear the uniform. But they went on agitating. Then government said they're setting up a committee to study that matter and come with the recommendations. Some of the girls went to the High Court, and the High Court is going to hear on the 8th. So if you want to change a rule, petition the government, wait for them to consider, because the rule has to be applicable to everybody. Schools are not run on communal basis. Schools are not run on religious basis. They are run with the same standard for everybody. And if there is a uniform, they must adhere to it. If they want change, let them petition the government. Let the government decide. And if they don't like the government decision, you're going to court. Let the court decide. It's nothing to do with religion. It is with some personal preferences. I mean, Barkha, look around the world. The Afghan women are fighting against the hijab. In Iran, a woman has been sentenced to 24 years for removing the hijab. It's a very contentious issue globally. Now, let me say one thing. For me personally, it doesn't matter whether they wear the hijab or not. Let the rules be changed. If the government says hijab is okay, then let everybody, all girls, all boys wear a hijab with whatever color they want. It doesn't matter. Let us change the rules. Anything. Yes.
Let me ask you one thing. This very sort of French view of secularism, and just for context, France has banned any overt religious symbols in publicly funded institutions. Is India, with its diversity, its multiplicity of faiths, of rituals, in a position to follow this in the classroom? Will we next ask Sikhs, for example, Mohan, to not wear turbans? Because that's what France has done. How far are we going to take this?
Barkha, Sikhs have been wearing turbans for hundreds of years. There has been no problem till today. Nobody bothers about them. These girls have not been wearing the hijab. They've been following the uniform. This is something new that has happened in the last 2 months. That means obviously somebody has instigated them. Now, if they want to wear the hijab, let them write to the government and change the rule. Let the government decide what rule we should have for everybody. Let every girl have the right to wear a headscarf of whatever color. Change the rule. If you don't change the rule, they're already in the High Court. Let the High Court decide. Why should we judge, say it is communal, is thus, and why should you accuse the Chief Minister of Karnataka, who has said very clearly, we set up a committee, the matter is in court, let the court decide. Why go all this? Why pass judgment on something which is work in progress?
Okay, I wanted first the perspective of those who actually think that this is a reasonable policy. And now I want to bring in Mariyam. Actually, the young woman, one of the protesters I interviewed, said she'd been wearing a hijab since she was 3 years old. Can I ask you the same question, Mariyam, if you don't mind? How long have you been wearing the hijab?
I've been wearing the hijab since I was 9 years old, and I have went to colleges where and I went to schools where we wore the hijab in classrooms, and I've studied in Bangalore and I've studied all over India. I've been went to Malaysia, everywhere. We did wear hijab since the beginning. Like I'm not sure why suddenly it's a problem. I understand that certain colleges like convent schools have certain rules, but if you talk to the principal, they'll allow you to wear it.
So have you studied in a convent school?
Yes, I did study in convent school as well. And I went and spoke to the principal, and she was like, okay, yeah, sure, you can wear it. So that wasn't much of an issue. It's sudden. I think I was very young. Now it's suddenly a big issue if you're seen in hijab. If you walk down the streets, people are staring at you. If you, in my college, I'm studying law at the moment. I'm the only female Muslim, and I'm the only person who wears hijab, and I've hardly seen one or two women, Muslim women, in those areas. But when I went in arts colleges and like PUC and 11th, 12th, everybody, commerce students, art student, everybody wore the hijabs. If they are not wearing their hijab, it's mostly because there are no Muslim students, but Muslim women do wear their hijabs in educational institutions. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, I want to open this up. You see, I think there are two dimensions to this debate, Mariyam. One is cultural. There are many Muslims on this panel, I think, who would argue that the hijab was not organic to Islam as it was practiced in many parts of India. The other is educational. Like I personally I'm willing to put aside my views on the hijab, the ghungat, anything that seeks to drape women in a way that men are not draped. That is my issue. Because education should be the priority, right? Do you think that both sides, Mariyam, are making a mistake? The schools and colleges by saying that the girls must take the hijab off, and the girls by saying we will not come to school or college till we wear a hijab. Do you think young women are getting crushed by extremes of both sides, or do you support the rights of the girls who are protesting?
I think it should be a choice, and I believe that everybody keeps getting involved. All people who have a say are most like I've seen men having a say about what women need to wear. It should be their choice. If they want to wear it, they should be allowed. And it's about secularism. I see a Sikh in a turban, a Hindu wearing a tilak, and I'm wearing a hijab. It's beautiful. Somebody's wearing a tavi, somebody is wearing a rakhi, bandhan. It's you will learn about educational institutions are where you learn about each other, about our country. And if you're depriving of children their personality, then I don't know what we are learning. We're not learning. We are just imposing our views on children who can express themselves.
Before I go to Professor Irfan Habib and that he's a teacher, it becomes very relevant in this context. Mohan, if tomorrow there was also a rule saying no tilaks, no saffron scarves, no saffron shawls inside the classroom, inside the school, would you back that as well? Because we've seen counter protests and we have those visuals. Can we play them? The counter protests of people marching through the street, students wearing saffron scarves. Mohan, so would you be consistent on that?
Of course, Barkha. I would prefer a uniform rule for all students who come to school because they must leave all the differences at the school gate. There must be a uniform rule. We have got uniforms. Government of Karnataka gives uniform. I think everybody should follow uniform because we are all citizens of the same country. Let's be uniform. Now, when you go to college, in college, I don't think there's a dress code. So if you go to college and say, I want to this, fine. Barkha, let me give you one data. In my earlier company, we had a lot of Muslim women who were not wearing the hijab. We also had a lot of Muslim men. You know what the Muslim men did? They all ganged up together, started messaging the Muslim women, threatening them. You're not a good Muslim if you don't wear a burqa to office and everything. Then HR came to me and said, sir, this is what is happening. I called this woman and asked them, what is the problem? They said, look, no, they're all pressurizing us. They're all threatening us. We are forced to wear, etc. And the HR wanted to say this is not acceptable. Then I said, look, these are oppressed as it is. They have studied hard and got a job. Let us not do anything to them except that they can't travel overseas wearing this dress. They have to have a coat and they can't go outside to client premises. Inside the campus, it's fine. We agreed to that. Why? Because we didn't want these women to be hurt. Let us admit one thing. There are a lot of Muslim men forcing Muslim women to do this to conform. Even in this case, only 6 girls supposedly doing this. There are 100 girls who are not doing it. Now, if the 6 girls get their way, all 100 will be pressurized. Let me tell you, the PFI is a fundamentalist organization. They don't like women rights. They don't like women being free. We know them for the last 15, 20. They come from Kerala. You can ask Rahul about them. He'll explain to you what they are. We got to be very careful, Barkha.
Let me get the others. We do have some reports that the PFI student wing is involved in supporting the young women, but that doesn't take away from the fact, Professor Habib, that you cannot divorce this conversation from other things that have happened. From the fact that you've had young Muslim women being so-called auctioned on online platforms in bulli and sulli deals. From the fact that most recently, when Mariyam was saying that there should be religious literacy about each other's customs and practices, I was struck by the nonsense controversy around Shah Rukh Khan's sort of appearance at Lataji's sort of farewell, where he was accused of spitting. इतना illiteracy की दुआ कैसे दी जाती है वो भी नहीं हम लोगों को मालूम एक दूसरे के बारे में. But then the debate would be, is the classroom the space to learn that? Mariyam says yes, Mohandas Pai says no. Professor Habib, what do you say, sir?
You see, let me begin my own position in 2 parts. First is, I have no sympathy for hijab at all. I am against hijab in terms of Islam, because Islam says nothing about hijab. It is not Islamic at all. And should not be any comparison between Sikhism and this hijab. In Sikhism, it is ingrained from after Guru Gobind Singh. It's part of Panch Kakar, Panch Kakar. So it's a very different position. In Islam, Quran says nothing about hijab. These are all very cultural practices. In my own family, my mother never wore any hijab. She wore actually sleeveless blouses. No, she was like any normal woman anywhere. So that is something very, very, very recent which has happened in the past few decades. And I'm not sure, because I'm not aware, like what Mohandas Pai said just now, that these particular girls never wore hijab 2 months ago. No, so if it is true, then it's even sadder that the girls who were not wearing hijab.
That's not what the girls are saying to us. So there's a kind of dispute there. But anyway,
so I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So that's why I can't comment on it. But the point is that hijab should not be seen as something very Islamic. It is not. It can be a matter of choice. Now, when it is a matter of choice, then obviously in a country like India, which is diverse, which is democratic, where despite the fact that I don't like it, I don't approve of it, I can't force anybody not to use it. Because in my extended family, there are some girls who are doing it now in the recent years. So we can't take that hijab off. Now we sit with them and we approve, what to do, accept it. But the point is that it should not be seen as something which is ingrained in Quran or Islamic. It is Islamic. It is not. And there is no time for getting into all the details, but there are enough reasons, enough issues which can be raised to prove that this is a cultural practice, and which has been imported into India.
So you believe it's an imported ingredient, but what about locking? Yeah, what about locking the gates of schools and colleges?
I'm coming there. Second part is that we have to see this action against these girls in the context of what is happening around us in India, all over, not just in Bangalore. We see the sort of intolerance, the sort of homogeneity which is being imposed, and we don't want to see heterogeneity. The diversity which was our strength is seen today as our weakness. So we don't want to see people behaving differently, dressing differently, eating differently. No, this is something which is even sadder. So I see this issue in that context as well. I may not approve of hijab, but I will actually say that if they want to do it, why? What is the problem? Because it's aspirational. They are coming to school to educate themselves. Now, looking
Yeah.
to a bright and better future like any other.
And
So
I think you make it. I think you make it. Sorry, I'm interrupting. I think you make a very important point, and that point is that you can be against the hijab even as a sort of believing Muslim, but that doesn't mean that you support the closing of the doors of schools and colleges to these young women. And I think a number of people would be there. I know, Mohandas, by you're not. I'm actually uncomfortable with all religious orthodoxy, whether it is Islam, Christian, Hindu, any, because and Rahul and I have, can we mute Professor Habib for a second? Rahul and I have argued over this for many years in the context of Sabrimala. Rahul called me a feminist, a fundamentalist feminist, and I continue to be one. But Ambreen, before I come to Rahul, let me get you in. On your Twitter feed, you said, this is nonsense. This saffron scarves versus hijabs. What will happen to education, right? But I think there's an important and complex point that Irfan Habib makes, which is that there can be a discomfort with the hijab or there can be a support for it, but there cannot be two opinions on whether girls should be allowed access to an education. Ambreen, go ahead.
Exactly, Barkha. In fact, I must tell you here, my father spent entire his life for the education of girls, not particularly Muslim girls, but marginalized, the girls coming from the marginalized society. And if you see, the literacy rate amongst Muslims is very low, and more low in the case of the girls. So we have to realize the circumstances and the conditions they're coming in from. Once a girl decides to study beyond a point, there's a whole list of things, conditions put on them कि ऐसे करना है, घर से बाहर निकलोगी तो ओके, वेयर अ हिजाब, लड़कों से बात नहीं करनी है, नजर नीचे करके चलना है, hundreds of things that they say yes to so that they're able to study. They're brilliant girls who are not able to step out of their houses because of this orthodox mentality. As Professor Habib said, I also come from a family, my mother, my grandmother, none of us wore hijab. My daughter, she doesn't wear. Matlab, we never imposed. It's a choice, absolutely. But please don't stop the education of our girls. Muslim girls need to be educated. You know, it's a battle. It's a big battle which we are fighting now. If they are fighting it out at their homes and their mohallas and the ghettos to get out of the place, get educated, get good degrees, and they come to the college and they find out, oh, okay, you're not allowed inside. So where do they go? They land in a soup. The girls need, or they have to get educated, right?
I agree. I agree. I feel like women are being crushed from all sides. They're being conditioned by a culture of patriarchy, and then they have these other very strict rules to contend with. And the only priority in this is that girls should not lose enrollment in schools. But today we have seen pictures, Rahul, of one particular college allowing the Muslim girls with the hijab in and then placing them in a different classroom, segregating them. Now this is, I think, almost, I mean, I don't know. This is just terrible. What does this mean? How can you place students in a different classroom? I know, Rahul, you said this is a harmonious resolution. This is a horrible resolution.
Barkhaji, 3 points. First one, it's a very tricky gray area issue. It's a very nuanced, multi-layered issue, and we have to see it in a very multi-layered way. As you know, I'm a very religious, spiritual person, and I side with every religious community, be it Hindu, Christian, or Muslim, and I support their rights in general. But here there is a battle of choices. The battle of choice of an individual to wear the dress they like, the choice of an institution also to have a dress code they like. And Supreme Court on multiple occasions have pointed out the right of an organization or an institution to uphold or to conduct a dress code cannot be, forsaken at the altar of individual freedom. So yes, Hijab, for example, one more thing I can point out, MES, Muslim Educational Society, one of the largest Muslim organizations in Kerala, has banned niqab and hijab. They articulated as hijab, even though it was niqab. They niqab and said that such dress will actually hinder the progress of the movement. So there is a multi-layered opinion in Muslim community. We all agree that there shouldn't be Islamophobia, there shouldn't be targeting of Muslim community. Absolutely, yes. I don't think there is ever two opinion regarding that. At the same point of time, don't an institution also have the right to have a dress code with them? If people who are
okay, there's a difference, one between private institutions and a difference between government institutions, public institutions, right?
So,
even in France, the France diktat applies to publicly funded institutions. You can't actually impose. So it's a very complicated debate on not just the hijab, but also the ghungat, also the Mangal Sutra, also the sindoor. But of course, none of these are likely to be found in classrooms, Mariyam. That's the difference. The other overt religious symbols are usually accompany adulthood, right? And that is why you don't actually see them in the context of a classroom. To those, Mariyam, who say, as Mr. Pai does, that an educational space should actually have a uniform, that you leave your religion at the door, what would you say to that, Mariyam?
I think that's I don't know, I can't put it, but I think that's very naive, and that's a very privileged statement to make, because you're closing the doors on. It's not about the dress code or anything. It's about, as you said, that it's about depriving people of an education. And as our author said, right, that and we have so many cultural problems and everything, and wearing a hijab and going to college, if we don't get an education, how will we empower ourselves, and how will we get out of the problems that we have at home? This is one side. Then there's another side, which also there's a abstract meaning of hijab. There is it boils down to why are people when it's not exactly a problem. I'm just covering my head. Why is it such a problem? It's just a head covering. It's not disturbing the uniform. I'm wearing the uniform. I'm wearing this on top of that. In fact, it adds more to my personality, and to everybody knows that this is what I believe in. I believe in something good and honest and peace, and they can come and talk to me about it. They can have a dialogue about it, especially when in a country where we have this kind of diversity. Why are we shutting
but I just want to say that there's a larger debate that will have to apply across religions. It could be any overt religious symbol. For example, anything that signals your religion overtly, should that be allowed in the classroom? Right? That is, I think it should be.
I think it should be, because there is so much to learn from every religion, and every religion at the end of the day is saying the same thing. At the end of the day, it's saying the same thing about peace and harmony and all of those things. So we can have, children can learn. We all are talking like adults, but they need to figure it out on their own. And if they don't get to experiment and try out different things, like there are days where I don't wear when I don't feel like wearing. That's the thing. There should be a choice, and it comes quite later in life. When they're children, they've reached puberty, and the family says wear a hijab, then they have to wear it. And I don't think it should be an educational problem. I'm sorry. I'm just very upset.
It's okay. You're allowed absolutely to your 1 second, Mr. Pai. You're allowed to say what you want to. Mohandas Pai, go ahead.
Barkha, we can be very romantic about more things, but let us be practical and realistic. Data says they were not wearing the hijab till December. It was okay till then. Somebody has provoked them. I'm fine with that. All right. Now, just now you made a statement. Girls have been segregated. The education minister on record is to say the girls were standing outside. We asked them to come inside and say they can attend provided they remove the hijab. They refused. So, the matter of courtesy, we asked them to sit inside a room and not protest outside, so they'll have shelter. It is not about segregation. Please let us not jump to conclusions. That's point number one. Point number two, the High Court is going to hear it. Why don't you remove the hijab? Come to class, get your education. Let the High Court decide. Let the government have a committee and decide the change. Why are you in a hurry and putting a gun on everybody? My way or the highway? That is being undemocratic. You have the right to petition. You have the right to change. You have the right to multicultural, whatever you want. Tomorrow, some boys will come with a small shorts and nothing on the top saying, this is my culture, this is my religion. What are you going to do? We need to have some norms. Let's agree on that, all right? And once you have those norms, once you have the norm, let us adhere to the norms. Now you want to change the norms, have a debate, discuss it, come out with the norms. And if you think that the norms are not okay, there's a court. Let the court decide. Close it.
Okay. The court, of course, will have to take this decision. I don't think it can be resolved at any other level now. And thank you for that clarification on the allegation that in one college students had been segregated. That's an important sort of detail. Let's hear from one of the protesters. She's 19. So she's not exactly a baby, but 19 is still very, very young. And she's not going to her college because she's not being allowed in with her hijab on. What is making her do this? This is an excerpt from my conversation with her. What is the college saying? जैसे कोई और, some of the other institutions have started segregated classrooms. In other words, they have allowed the girls to come in wearing their hijab, और उनको अलग classroom में रखा है. So what do you expect, which is the solution for you?
सॉल्यूशन इज सिंपल, लाइक जैसे पहले था वैसे ही करो, सब नॉर्मल था. जो हमारे खिलाफ आवाज उठा रहे हैं उन्हें आई थिंक समझाना चाहिए कि ये गलत है, क्योंकि इतने साल से तो वो लोगों ने ऐसा कुछ नहीं किया, तो अभी अचानक से आवाज उठाना इज सो अनफेयर. तो आई गेस हमारे कॉलेज के जो मैनेजमेंट है, बीइंग अ प्राइवेट कॉलेज, मैनेजमेंट को उनके साथ बैठ के चर्चा करके उन्हें समझाना चाहिए कि अचानक से हमारी औरत बच्चियों को ऐसे घर से बाहर कॉलेज से बाहर डालना इज नॉट फेयर विद देम. लाइक ये हमारे साथ गलत हो रहा है, तो उनसे डील करना चाहिए हमारे कॉलेज वालों को प्यार से समझा के.
मैं आपको एक अलग सवाल पूछना चाहती हूँ कि बहुत से लोगों को ये भी लगता है that हिजाब इज एंटी वुमन बिकॉज आदमियों को जैसे नहीं पहनना पड़ता. उस पे आप क्या कहेंगी? एंड द गर्ल्स आर गेटिंग क्रश्ड बिटवीन टू सेट्स ऑफ एक्सट्रीम्स.
नो, एक्चुअली जिसको लगता है कि हिजाब उन्हें सेफ फील करवाता है, हिजाब उन्हें प्रोटेक्ट करता है, तो क्रश होने का सवाल पैदा नहीं होता. मतलब अपनी मर्जी है, ये हिजाब पहनना नहीं पहनना उनकी मर्जी है. अगर कोई पहनना चाहता है तो वो उनका हक है, अगर कोई पहनना नहीं चाहता है तो उनकी मर्जी है. कोई उन्हें फोर्स नहीं कर सकता कि मत पहनो, या फिर कोई उन्हें ये भी फोर्स नहीं कर सकता कि पहनो. लेकिन हिजाब कुछ लोगों के दिल में है कि हिजाब हमारा फंडामेंटल राइट है, हिजाब हमारा प्राइड है, तो उनकी मेंटालिटी के हिसाब से अगर वो पहनना चाहते हैं तो उन्हें पहनने का पूरा हक है.
नहीं, मैं आपकी बात समझ रही हूँ, बट एज अ यंग वुमन आई जस्ट वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ ओल्ड वर यू व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड वेयरिंग द हिजाब. आपकी क्या उम्र थी?
लाइक 3 years, लाइक करीबन 3 साल से. तो जब 3 साल के थे तो पहन रहे थे.
हाँ, तो मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूँ कि मैं इस पे तो बहुत क्लियर हूँ कि किसी भी लड़की को एजुकेशन से नहीं रोका जा सकता. लेकिन मैं आपसे थोड़ा आगे सवाल पूछ रही हूँ कि जो लोगों को लगता है कि क्योंकि आदमी लोगों को हिजाब नहीं पहनना पड़ता तो ये एक इनइक्वालिटी है, उस पे क्या बोलेंगे आप?
मैम, हिजाब पहनने में आदमी और औरत का क्या कंपैरिजन? लाइक आदमी और औरत का क्या कंपैरिजन हिजाब में? हिजाब मुस्लिम्स में आदमी लोगों को कुछ और है पहनना और औरत लोगों को और है, और औरत लोगों की सेफ्टी ज्यादा मायने रखती है. तो ऑब्वियसली अगर औरत हिजाब में सेफ फील करती है तो उसे पूरा पहनने का हक है. इसमें कंपेयर नहीं कर सकते औरत और मर्द को.
एंड टेल मी, लास्ट क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है अलरीफा कि अगर आपकी इंस्टीट्यूशन नहीं मानती तो आप क्या करेंगे आगे? क्या सोचा लड़कियों?
will not quit. लाइक हम लोग रोज वही करें, लाइक प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे, हक के लिए लड़ेंगे. अगर कोर्ट में आगे अगर कोर्ट का जजमेंट हमारे फेवर में नहीं आता है तब भी हम सेम करेंगे, प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे, जाएंगे कॉलेज के पास. विल कंटिन्यू बट विल नॉट क्विट, क्योंकि ये हमारा हक है. अगर कोर्ट का फैसला किसी और के फेवर में आता है तो कम्प्लीटली गलत है. एंड एक्सपेक्टेशन है कि हमारे फेवर में आएगा, बट लाइक लेट्स होप फॉर गुड.
Okay, so that is one of the protesters. Ambreen, you're wanting to come in? Go ahead. Mr. Pai, I don't know why you're laughing. I'll come to you later because you just had your say. Ambreen, go ahead. Ambreen.
2 points here, Barkha. Mr. Pai also said this, all of a sudden the girls started coming in hijab, and this girl in the video also said अचानक से ये सब कुछ होने लगा. So
no, she's saying अचानक से हमें रोका. She's actually saying the ulta कि हम तो आराम से थे, हमें अचानक से रोका. So she's actually arguing the opposite. But go ahead.
Opposite, yeah. But then I somehow feel this is all orchestrated. I'm so sorry, because एकदम से नहीं हो सकता. Because I feel there was a video going around where the girls who were wearing a saffron scarf, they didn't get it from their homes. there was a car parked outside the college gates which were distributing the shawls. All right. And when one of the girls, she was a Christian, she refused and she was abused. She was told to wear it. She took it, but she didn't wear it. So this is all, everybody's in. I don't know if it is PFI or whoever, or maybe somebody from the other side, but it is not normal. This is not normal. This is
Well,
one of those.
politics has now taken over. It is quite clear that politics and competitive communalism has taken over. There's no two ways about that. But what are we going to do? Are we going to? I keep coming back to the same issue, the one I care about the most. Are you going to keep girls outside of the classroom? Professor Habib, I'm very much hoping your line is a little more stable yet. I'll allow you to respond. Go ahead, sir.
You see, my problem is that the whole issue has become, as you just said, become political, because I don't see any sense in people coming, people who are opposing it coming to the college with this saffron scarf in protest. Well, this makes no sense at all. Well, these people have nothing to do with this issue. Let these girls resolve it with the administration. Let them solve it. No, why should you become a party to it? That makes it more complicated and political. Though I don't agree with the whole hijab issue. I don't think that hijab is very central to Islam, and hijab should not be a priority or education. Education for me is more important, and the girls should not get lost in this battle for hijab, because this is something very sad. But once it has begun, the saffron scarf should not come in. Then you make it more complicated, because you're not girls. You are more.
I agree. No one is focusing on the priority, which is how to get the girls back in the classroom. That has to be the priority, right? That has to be the priority.
As we were talking before the program with Mr. Pai, that the girls, boys and girls in particular, are very, very keen to take their future forward, and to seek a brighter future, seek good education. And all these girls who are actually in hijab, they have come to school, not that they have to do something Islamic there. They have to be like anybody else, seek a good future and study well. Now hijab has come in. Hijab is such a trivial thing. The school should have ignored it. I think it has no reason. And we cannot compare ourselves with France. France is a different country. We are diverse. We are a country of diverse religions.
Let me pick up something you said. Mohandas Pai, Irfan Habib says he does not support the hijab. No woman in his family wears one. He feels sad that young women today aspire to it as something Islamic. He doesn't agree with that. But at the same time, he thinks the school and college and the state government could have looked the other way. What is the problem in looking the other way? As it is, the Muslim community has the lowest enrollment ratio to population in higher education. We had finally begun to see a spike in Muslim girls coming to school, a 37% increase in the last few years, a 45% increase in girls overall. If Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao is the central tenet of the Modi government's commitment, so Padhana should be the priority. Why couldn't the schools and colleges have looked the other way, Mr. Pai?
Barkha, let me put it on record. I support a massive increase in scholarship for Muslim youth, both boys and girls, because they are the poorest community in this country and they need to get educated so they can do much better in future. All right. And I've been telling to my state government, union government, please double, triple scholarship, because you must help all our young people. That's the point. Second thing important is that young girl you spoke to said, if the High Court decision is not in my favor, I will agitate. What does it mean? Are we a country governed by the rule of law or governed by the rule of religion? If you say the High Court, I will not.
She can go all the way to Supreme Court. That is the rule of law.
Why agitate? Till the Supreme Court decides, come to school, don't wear the hijab and go back. The Karnataka government minister, the Karnataka government education department issued clarification. This is a rule. This has been a rule. Now I'm talking about schools, not colleges. I'm only talking about the rule in schools, not colleges, because I have no knowledge whether colleges have a uniform, schools have a uniform. And then I think it's very important, let it be resolved. Why are you provoking? You come to school without a hijab. In school, you have been coming earlier. Come to school, let the issue be resolved. Let there be a debate. Let there be a discussion. It's not about depriving them of education, as some people are trying to spin it. That's not the point. Now, as far as I'm concerned, change the rule. Allow a hijab. Somebody will wear a saffron hijab, it is their choice. Somebody will wear some other hijab, it's their choice. Everybody will have a choice. If everybody is free to exercise whatever choice they want, fine, let us go with that. I'm okay with that. But let's not do something which is exclusive, and let us make sure whatever rule is there, it accommodates the rule of everybody, the needs of everybody in the country, so that everybody feels comfortable. Whatever it is there, let's not break the rules. Let us not say I am big, I am different from you, and all. Let's not do that. That is my limited point. That's why the High Court ruling is important.
Okay, I have to close, Mariyam. Can I get a last word from you and Ambreen on this? Because I do think the women should have the last word, since it's about what they wear. Mariyam, is it worth compromising your education on?
No, it's not. Also, can I just say a few things, because our historian, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce. I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. So yes, Mr. Habibi, you said that hijab is not mentioned in the Quran. There is no hijab, but there are other words for it, and there are other. It's just the form that it took, and it's for both men and women. Second of all, everybody saying go to Supreme Court, go to
if it's for both
petition.
women,
Yeah,
can I ask
it's
you?
both for men.
I don't see any boys. I don't see any boys.
I know.
Wearing
I know. It's the patriarchal thing. Yes, yeah, it's patriarchy. They're not following their part. Doesn't mean if they are not following, I should not follow my part. This is convenient. Also, delay in justice. I think I'm studying law right now, and I know how many years. And if this case had not taken the public eye, this case would have been buried under the pile of other petitions and everything. Just saying that go to the court, go do this, go do that it's nobody has that much time on their hands to deal with courts. The whole reason I'm becoming a lawyer. Second of all, it's just last of all, I'm sorry, it's just an excuse to poke the community. It's just an excuse. It's political. It's extremely political. It's irrelevant whether we wear it or not wear it. It's just an excuse to target Muslim community again. That's all.
Okay, Ambreen, I'll give you the last word. If you were talking to one of those young protesters, what would you say to them? If you were the principal of a school and you had to get them back in the classroom and that was your priority, or if you were their friend, if you were their friendly neighbor, what would you say to them?
I do have friends, Barkha. Hijab has always been there. So what happens in these cases is girls prefer the girls' colleges, and the moment they enter the gates, they take it off, go inside, have fun like a regular girl. That's it. Get educated. Girls, go get educated. Don't get into the politics. Don't say okay, High Court mein nahi aayega to we'll still protest, and don't. It's a trap. Please don't get into the politics. Get yourself educated. Get yourself enriched with knowledge. Spread the knowledge across. You know what Muslim girls, Muslim women are going through. We all know what all these roadside, I'm so sorry, but yes, roadside mullahs do, how they, drive us crazy. The women who are not educated fall into those traps. So please, my request to all the girls is hijab or no hijab, get educated. Please.
Okay. The focus of this conversation has to be on that, how to bring our girls back into the classroom. I continue to believe that all debates must be lesser than that one priority. That has to be where the focus is, but we leave it there for now. Mohandas Pai, Irfan Habib, Mariyam, Saigal, Ambreen, Zaidi, and Rahul, who could barely join us. Thank you for your brief comments. And to our audience, if you have comments on this, I'm sure you do. If you'd like to participate in our debate, write into us, and we will continue to follow the story from the ground and in our studio. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Goodbye. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo's Story and support independent, robust journalism.